The channel was something that was in my blood from when I was in the UK. I can still picture on an old black and white TV sitting in the lounge room and this huge big man getting out of the water. I thought it was in England, but I think it might have been in France, I don't know. And it was Des Renford, the Australian. He was huge. And like the reporters would all rush up to him and ask him questions, and he'd just like keep walking and fob them off, sort of thing. And then he'd be there again like 4 or 5 weeks later, and they'd be coating him up with his grease and all that, and he'd basically white going into the water. And it was just something about that image that I've gone, and it's only from there to there, it's not that far. Maybe I could do that one day. And it was only probably in the last 5 or 6 years. Actually, I've been with my PT at the gym now for 10 years. And that was recommended to me by my doctor, who said, you need to look after your heart and like this and that. And he said, the best way to do it is pay somebody to look after you. So pay. And he said, if you're paying someone, you'll go and do it. So I've been with this guy, Brett, for 10 years. And it was after I'd had my bowel resection. I had cancer, and that's all good now, but it was after that I'd had a long stint out of the gym, and we'd done a few of these. They do 12-week challenges where you lose weight. I'd actually got down to 80 kilos at one stage, and I was feeling good, looking good, and now I was back to whatever. And he said, you go up and down, and he was sort of having a real go at me one day, and he said, you need to set a goal. I said, I'm not good at goals. And he said, you've got to set yourself something, like, run a marathon. I just laughed at him, and I'm like walking away, and he said, you need to do something so that you can aim at something. I said, I'd rather swim the bloody channel than run a marathon. And he said, so do it. And I said, my exact words were, well, how do I do that? And he said, Google it. That was on the Monday. I had a session with him on the Friday, and by the Friday I went into him, I said, I'm signed up to swim the channel. It's obviously physical, because if you didn't do any there's no way that a person who could swim properly and or even an average, even a good swimmer, there's no way a good swimmer without real proper training and the right nutrition and all that, there's no way that they could do it. But there's lots of people who go, and they're probably far better swimmers than me that don't make it. Conditions can be nasty if you don't get your nutrition right. But I think I'd probably tell anybody that if you are right and you're strong enough and everything's right, the rest of it's in your head. And on the day, probably 90% of it was in my head. His mental capacity is just, he's another level, absolutely another level. And anyone who doubts that he can do this, he might not do it. And that'll be really sad. But anyone who doubts that he can do this, I can't call it tools, but to doubt his mental attitude and his mental capacity is you doubt him at your own risk, because he is, his mental capacity is more than I can imagine. I'm there for him. I'm not there to achieve anything for myself. Yes, it's going to be rewarding if we make it across and to be written in the same sentence or in the same column as him, to say that I was one of his, I was assisted him to cross the channel. But we're not there for us, and all 6 of us know that, and we're just there for him.